Good evening and welcome. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle liked to tantalize his readers by name-dropping the titles, and only the titles, of some adventures of Sherlock Holmes which he never actually wrote, such as The Giant Rat of Sumatra or The Singular Affair of the Aluminium Crutch. But he devoted 2 whole paragraphs to a detailed description of one such unwritten adventure. It is the case in which Holmes challenged and thwarted, quote, the colossal schemes of Baron Maupertuis, the most accomplished swindler in Europe, unquote. What you are about to hear now is that very case, as told by Holmes's longtime friend and biographer, Dr. John Watson.
If I never render all of Holmes's adventures into narratives, it will not be from lack of trying. For I am and shall always be enthralled to that extraordinary man. Never in my life is my spirit so roused to action as when I hear Holmes cry, "Watson, the game's afoot," or "Bring your revolver," or "Come at once." Early in April of 1887, a visitor arrived at our lodgings on Baker Street. I hung her cape on a hook beside the door and gestured for her to sit in the wing chair. She handed me a French visiting card, which I passed to Holmes.
Ah, Amélie Fragonard, Duchess de Saranac, Lyon. Parlez-vous anglais?
Ah oui, yes. Are you Monsieur Holmes?
I am. This is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson. Are you in trouble, Duchess?
No, it is my husband, the Duke, who is in trouble. He stands to lose a great deal of money if the Baron who swindled him cannot be made to return his investment.
The Baron, madame?
Le Baron Maupertuis.
Ah.
You have heard of him?
I have. Watson, if you please, fetch my commonplace book for the letter M.
I took the scrapbook down from the shelf and passed it to him. He dove into it and never looked at our visitor, but I did. She was perhaps 30 years of age, tall, with red-brown hair, but a pale complexion and dark rings below her eyes revealed a lack of sleep.
You are in fear that your husband may lose both his fortune and his life. But why have you come to London without your maid?
Her eyes widened in amazement.
Your cape concealed it, but the topmost button at the back of your neck is not secured by its corresponding loop. Your maid would not have missed that, and you did not notice it, for you were in a hurry to come here, out of anxiety over your husband's safety. But you are right to worry. The Baron has a reputation for discouraging his victims from attempting to recover lost funds.
But the Duke has come to London to do that.
The Baron is here?
Oh, so it would seem. I have followed my husband, hoping to stop him from threatening the Baron.
Threatening him with what?
If the money is not returned, he will reveal to the newspapers a discrediting secret, something from the Baron's youth, when they were at the lycée together, 40 years ago, in Paris.
That school. Do you recall its name?
Oh yes, Le Collège Henri V, in the Latin Quarter. It is very prestigious.
A schoolboy's indiscretion may not count for much when a man is how old?
They would be the same age, 53.
What is this discrediting secret?
I do not know. My husband has never told me. But he received a letter from another schoolmate, an Englishman, who said he had also been swindled by the Baron. So my Duke set off from Lyon 7 days ago, intending to meet this Englishman in London. I expected him to send a letter or telegram upon his arrival here. But none came to Lyon, and none has come to the Englishman's house, where I am now a guest.
And the man's name?
I promised his wife I would not mention his name to you. I am so sorry.
You have given me very little information, Duchess. How can I help you if you do not give me all the facts? You are that man's guest, Ah, no. A guest of his wife. It was her maid who did up your buttons. She is short of stature, and so is her mistress.
Yes, but how?
Oh, you are tall. A small maid would need to mount a step-stool to raise her eyes and hands up to your neck. Since she did not use one, likely she does not have one, because she does not need it to dress a diminutive mistress. Now, please, if you want me to foil the Baron's scheme, I must hear from this woman whose husband has likewise been swindled. Send for her. One of my young helpers from the street will take a note in your hand.
She may feel more comfortable if we were to call upon her at home.
Point taken, Watson. Duchess, please write and ask her to receive us. The lad will go and return by cab. Meanwhile, we will hear your story in its entirety.
From her reticule, she withdrew a letter and passed it to me.
The Duke left this for me when he departed.
It was in French. I gave it to Holmes. He rubbed it between his thumb and forefinger and looked closely at the watermark before reading it.
It begins, Mon petit chou. My little cabbage. Is this how a nobleman addresses his wife?
I call him mon grand chou.
Holmes shot me a glance under furrowed brows. He does not ever give affectionate nicknames, and is perplexed when other people do so.
The Duke says the Englishman intends to bring a lawsuit for false representation, so he asks your husband to join in the suit, as they will have a better chance to prevail than either of them acting alone. He ends with 1,000 kisses from your big cabbage. Have you brought the Englishman's letter?
No, he took it with him. But I found his envelope in the dustbin.
Excellent.
She handed it to Holmes, who performed his examination, then handed both to me. It was obvious they were not from the same stationery.
How did your husband come to invest with the Baron?
The Baron renewed their acquaintance last year. He owns a small archipelago in the North Sea off the coast of Holland and is selling ownership to each of the islands. My husband purchased an island, but a sudden loss in another of his investments forces him to ask the Baron to take back the property and refund the investment. This the Baron refuses to do.
Perhaps he does not really own the archipelago. What is it called?
My husband told me, but I have forgotten the name.
It should be in the atlas. Are they high islands or rocky islets?
Islets. That is the word. Thank you, Doctor. The islets of something. It begins with L. Language.
Oh, no. I'm sorry, Duchess. Were they the islets of Langerhans?
Oui, c'est ça. Merci, Docteur. Do you know where they lie?
Yes, they are near to one's stomach. The islets of Langerhans are tiny glands within the pancreas.
Oh, mon Dieu.
When I was studying medicine, these glands had newly been discovered by the German anatomist Paul Langerhans and named for him. So it was a great joke amongst aspiring doctors to say one was going to spend a holiday sailing around the islets of Langerhans.
I am very sorry, madame. Your husband has been roundly cheated.
Could it be that he discovered the deception? And that this is what prompted him to seek the Baron and confront him with that boyhood scandal?
Oh, I suppose. Now, it may have been. Oh, I have been blind.
You were not consulted on the investment, so you cannot share the blame. Tell me about the Englishman. At least name him.
He is Sir Philip Dorrence. But I have met only his wife, Lady Agnes. Sir Philip is on the continent.
Where?
I do not know, but she must know.
I opened the door and admitted one of the street urchins Holmes calls his irregular agents. He handed me a letter, received a shilling in return, touched his cap and departed. I opened the letter. She will receive us directly. Let us go. The home of Sir Philip and Lady Agnes Dorrence was a townhouse in Kensington. A servant brought us into a room with tall windows giving onto the street. The chairs and sofas were in the style associated with the French King Louis XVI. Lady Agnes was young and rather like a doll, small, with a round face topped by pale blonde curls and cupid lips bracketed by dimples.
I must tell you, gentlemen, that I tried to discourage Amélie from consulting inquiry agents. My husband, Sir Philip, is perfectly capable of dealing with scoundrels. He has gone off to confront the Baron in person.
Indeed. How long did the Duke stay here before they left together?
He did not stay here, so obviously they did not leave together. They had an exchange of letters and arranged to meet in Amsterdam. Sir Philip discovered that two of his school friends, Amélie's husband, the Duke, and a Dutch merchant, a Mr. Zwart, who works for the Netherlands Sumatra Company, they had also been swindled by a former classmate, a Frenchman who had inherited a barony.
When the Duke left Lyon, I assumed he was coming to meet Sir Philip here in London.
That is why I was surprised yesterday to see you at my door, Amélie. No wonder you have been so frightened.
Lady Agnes, what do you know of Sir Philip's investment?
My husband is not forthcoming about money matters, and it is not a wife's place to ask.
The four of them, Sir Philip, the Duke, the Dutchman, and the Baron, they will all have been at school together in the French equivalent of the same form. The Duke claims to know a secret from their school days, which, if revealed today, would so embarrass the Baron that to keep it concealed he would have to pay back their losses. Do you know what this secret may be?
I have no idea. It may be something known only to the Duke.
Has your husband kept the Dutchman's letters?
Possibly. The other day I saw a Dutch stamp on an envelope. It was empty, but it's still on his writing desk.
That may be of help.
Lady Agnes told the servant to fetch it and hand it to Holmes, who gave it a close examination.
Frankly, I am surprised that Sir Philip wanted to renew the Dutchman's acquaintance.
Why is that?
In our set, we do not associate with Hebrews.
An uncomfortable silence followed, as Lady Agnes glanced about, expecting someone to concur, but none of us did.
Look here, Mr. Holmes. Your inquiry is upsetting me. I don't know what kind of trouble the Duke has gotten himself into.
Agnes, please.
I'm sorry, my dear, but my concern must be first and always for Sir Philip.
Lady Agnes, bear with me. If neither the revelation of this secret nor the threat of a lawsuit is sufficient leverage, what would they do?
Perhaps they will challenge him with drawn swords, like Dumas' Three Musketeers.
The Baron is no stranger to confrontation. He is known to exact reprisals against vociferous creditors, and he never goes anywhere unarmed.
I'm not worried. Sir Philip is big and strong. He carries a Webley revolver, and he is a crack shot.
My Duke also has a very robust physique, and he too goes about with a pistol. Mauser, I think it is called.
That is a very large revolver.
We have a dangerous situation here, especially if their Dutch classmate is also armed. The Baron does not reimburse men he has swindled. He often refuses even to make contracted payments to builders and tradesmen who do piecework for him. And he may have killed a man who attempted to dun him for payment over the purchase of a racing yacht.
Lady Agnes, did Sir Philip invest in the islets of Langerhans? I gave her a brief description of the swindle.
Oh, my dear Amélie, how awful for you. No, Dr. Watson, Sir Philip would never put money into any Dutch venture. He is a Catholic, and he insists that all of his investments be in Catholic countries.
No, c'est si drôle. Excuse me, but this is very funny. My Duke is of Huguenot descent. He is a Protestant and has never forgotten the French Catholics for the massacres they inflicted upon the Huguenots over the centuries. So he refuses to invest in a Catholic country, not even his own. Holland, of course, is a Protestant country.
As I was saying, the Baron sold Sir Philip an abandoned estate on the Côte d'Azur in France, promising it would be easy to make into an hotel. However, when Sir Philip went there to examine the property, he discovered that it was not an estate at all. It was a quarry for limestone, a hole in the ground as large as a city square.
How much did Sir Philip pay for it?
£70,000. He told me because it came out of my dowry, which of course is my husband's by law to do with as he thinks best.
You must forgive me for pointing this out, but Sir Philip is quite a bit older than you are.
He managed my late father's investments. I was 15 when my father died, and Sir Philip made me his ward. When I came of age, on my 17th birthday, he proposed marriage, and I had no reason to refuse.
Did he buy this house with your dowry as well?
No, it was his already, built for his great-grandfather, who also commissioned the furniture.
I can see, Lady Agnes, that our husbands' families share a taste for this style. The Duke's house and furnishings in Lyon have been in his family since before the Revolution. So we have similar pieces to those you have here. Louis XVI.
These old things. Louis XVI is not to my taste at all. Give me the modern style, I say. But Sir Philip will not hear of replacing them. They're family heirlooms, don't you know?
Enough. Tell me more about the money your husbands gave to the Baron.
A wife should not inquire deeply into her husband's finances.
And I have always trusted the Duke to use sound judgment in financial matters.
The Duke's payment for the non-existent Dutch island, was it from your dowry?
Yes.
Perhaps these swindles might have been averted if your husbands had talked with you about their investments beforehand.
You cannot expect any husband to consult with his wife about such things. He does not, after all, need our permission.
True, but had you been better informed, you'd have been able to make a more detailed report. I insist that tomorrow you call upon Inspector Bradstreet at Scotland Yard. Say that I urged you to seek his help, and tell him all that you have told me.
Holmes and I took our leave and stepped into the street. Did you learn anything from the envelope you examined?
The address of the Dutch merchant. I shall go to Amsterdam tomorrow. But first, I must send a telegram. Cab!
Next morning, before Holmes departed, a telegram arrived from France.
Responding to my wire. I'll translate it for you. Records of the Lycée Henri V show that an Edouard Maupertuis was for 1 year a student. Enrolled 1846, expelled 1847 for, acte honteux, disgraceful acts.
Disgraceful in what way, I wonder?
The report concludes that Monsieur Maupertuis is not, by any reckoning, a baron, and his present whereabouts are unknown. I must leave now for the boat train, Watson. You can reach me in Amsterdam at the Grand Hotel on Dam Square. I will get word to you every day.
Normally, Holmes would not write a letter if a telegram would suffice. But telegrams would not suffice in this instance. 2 days after his departure came the first of his letters. It was from Amsterdam.
My dear Watson, I have been chastising myself since I left London for not obtaining from Lady Agnes a photograph or even a miniature of Sir Philip. Conceivably, the Duchess may have carried her husband's image to London in a small frame or a locket, but I failed to ask her as well. However, I have the Dutch merchant's address and his name, Zwart, from his envelope. So I was able to learn his given name, which is Jacob. Tomorrow I shall visit his house. Yours, Holmes.
As soon as I read the letter, I took a cab to Kensington. Lady Agnes came down the stair. The Duchess was right behind her on the landing.
Where's Mr. Holmes? Why isn't he here?
He is in pursuit of the Baron, hoping to reach him before your husbands do.
You will keep us informed of his progress.
Of course. Have you spoken with Inspector Bradstreet?
Oh, yes. But he was not in sympathy. He merely said he would look into our problem as a favor to Monsieur Holmes.
The man was not properly deferential to his betters. He said wives ought not to expect the police to recover money that their husbands gamble away, as if the insidious way our husbands were swindled were of no greater significance than losing at cards.
I'm sorry for that. But the reason I've come today is to ask if I may borrow a photograph or some other likeness of Sir Philip.
There is none in the house, Doctor. His face is, well, he considers it disfigured, and he is loath to have it recorded for posterity.
Disfigured? How?
On his right cheek is what's called a strawberry birthmark. He is quite handsome otherwise, with thick brown hair styled in waves, but the birthmark is conspicuous, and Sir Philip refuses to be painted or photographed.
I see. Duchess, by any chance have you brought with you an image of the Duke? A miniature or a locket, perhaps?
No, Doctor. But the Duke's hair is blonde. He wears it quite long, and he has grown what you would call a Van Dyke beard. He has the look of a boulevardier, an aesthete, a dandy.
I took my leave, hurried to a telegraph office, and cabled Holmes with these descriptions. Meagre as they were, they would give him at least some idea of what the men looked like. Next morning, a telegram arrived.
Watson, thank you for the information. Sir Philip is much older than his wife. Please inquire at Somerset House. Was he ever previously married? Also look up his listing in Burke's Peerage.
Later in the day came a letter.
My dear Watson, I went to the Zwart house today. There is a bronze mezuzah on the doorpost, signifying this is a Jewish home. You will recall that Lady Agnes declared her and her husband's dislike of Jews. I am worried that such prejudice may weaken the solidarity of the three classmates. Enterprise. Responding to my knock, a woman came to the door.
Ja?
Excuse me, I have very little Dutch, but I wish to speak with Meneer Zwart.
English is no problem. We both speak it, my husband and I, but he is not at home. He left this morning for a business meeting.
My name is Sherlock Holmes. I am a consulting detective in London. A few days ago I learned that a French duke, a titled Englishman, and your husband have all invested in schemes perpetrated by a scoundrel whom they trusted because he was one of their boyhood chums, a classmate in Paris at the Lycée Henri V. They are all in grave danger from the wrath of this swindler, and your husband, being a Jew, may face additional danger.
Please come inside. I am Jetta, Zwart.
Watson, you are a better delineator of a woman's appearance than I, but Zwart's wife, Jetta, has Iberian features, suggesting her ancestors were Spanish or Portuguese Jews who fled the Inquisition in the 16th century and settled in the more tolerant Amsterdam. She offered, and I accepted, a glass of the local Heineken beer.
What are these schemes, Mr. Holmes?
The swindler calls himself Baron Maupertuis. He persuaded the Frenchman to buy a fictitious Dutch island and the Englishman to acquire a French estate that turned out to be a quarry. They assert that your husband, too, has made a large investment on this scoundrel's recommendation. Has he? She paused before speaking. I admire forethought, Watson. It is a mark of intelligence.
You are a Londoner.
I am.
Is it true that London is making railways that run beneath the streets of the various boroughs?
Oh, yes, there is much new construction.
Oh, my husband invested in the Baron's company that is building one of those new lines. It runs through the borough of Exeter.
Oh. Exeter is a town far away in the southwest of England. There is no borough of Exeter in London.
Oh, I see. Perhaps I should have read geography instead of literature at the university in Leiden.
Was it your money that he invested?
He asked me for it, and I gave it to him. My money is not his by right. Dutch law permits women, even married women, to own property. I held title to my family's house, which is in another part of the city. However, To provide my husband with this capital, I sold my house.
Could he not have borrowed against the value of this house?
No, he owns the house and its furnishings. They have been in his family for more than 100 years. But he has not enough income to pay back so large a loan. He merely draws a salary as one of the senior managers of the Nederland-Sumatra Company.
I am sorry to tell you that he has almost certainly lost the money you gave him. Did his classmates visit him here?
No one has come here but you.
I fear that the Frenchman and the Englishman may seek immediate redress by threatening the Baron with pistols. Does Mynheer Zwart possess a firearm?
Not a gun as such, but he does go about armed. He has to. The Nederland-Sumatra Company administers some of our Batavia colonies, islands in the East Indies. Many of the people from those islands who live here in Amsterdam resent their colonial masters. So my husband carries a walking stick that, with a twist of the handle, becomes a rifle.
I very much need to speak with your husband. You said he is meeting someone now. Do you know with whom?
Not any schoolmates, I am sure. He has gone to one of his regular meetings at the gas works on the western edge of the city. If you hurry, you may catch him.
So, Watson, that is where I went, and I will tell you what transpired in my next letter.
I had just finished reading what Holmes wrote when Inspector Bradstreet came to my door. Holmes considers Bradstreet a rarity at Scotland Yard, one of their few genuinely talented detectives. What brings you here, Inspector?
Yesterday, a couple of ladies came in. Said Holmes sent them to see me. They wanted my men to get back some money their husbands lost. I didn't give them anything but a piece of my mind and proceeded to forget about it. Until this morning, when these 3 telegrams landed on my desk. This one's from Holmes, this one's from one of the big dogs in the Amsterdam police, and this one's from a commissaire. That's what the Frenchies call the top copper in a city's force. He's in Lyon. You must know what this is about, don't you, Doctor?
I grinned, as though I knew all. Tell me what they said.
Same as what those ladies said. Help us. Seems this Baron's a real menace to society, not only here, but across the channel.
Indeed he is. Look at these clippings from Holmes's commonplace book. A newspaper report about the sinking of a Dutch merchant ship. No survivors. And another report about the theft of a racing yacht.
I know, that's a yacht. I was in charge of that case. She was berthed in the Solent and got sold last year for 52,000 quid to a fat Englishman who said he was acting as the agent for an Ottoman potentate. He paid with a draft on a French bank. But a couple of days later, when it was time to register the yacht in the new owner's name, she was gone. She'd up-anchored in the night and sailed away. And the bank draft turned out to be worthless. Now, the seller did the right thing. He came to us, filed a complaint for theft. We had the yacht's description printed up as a handbill and mailed it along with a photograph to every saltwater harbor master in Europe. There wasn't much else that could be done. A few weeks later, though, the seller was taking a ferry, fell overboard, and drowned. But he was a yachtsman. Those guys don't just fall off boats. And they can swim. Sure enough, a couple of passengers said they'd seen the victim struggling at the rail with another man. But we never found that man. The case is still open, so I'm on the hook.
Holmes must think that he was Baron Maupertuis.
I got a couple of my sergeants to look up Maupertuis in our records, and they had no luck. We've never collared anybody with that name. But there is something I could do for those continental coppers, and maybe it'll keep little Lady Agnes off my back, too. I got hold of Sir Philip Dorrance's banker and found out who cashed his £70,000 draft for the hole in the ground.
I'm glad Holmes brought you into the case, Bradstreet. Let me know what you find. He took his leave just as the postman came. We Londoners are fortunate to have a postal service that delivers no less than 3 times daily. Holmes had written me another letter.
My dear Watson, I am exhausted, but I cannot allow myself to sleep, and I must tell you more. The fastest way to reach the gasworks was by water. Jetta Zwart summoned a servant who took me through the canals in a steam launch. The canal landing at the gasworks is surrounded by barges laden with coal. Like our London gasworks, the Amsterdam works turns coal into illuminating and cooking gas. I approached the main gate, said I was an employee of the Netherlands-Sumatra Company, and asked to join Mr. Zwart's meeting. Unfortunately, he had already returned to the city, so I asked with whom he had met. They directed me to the gasworks chemical laboratory, where an elderly man with wiry grey hair stood at a laboratory bench, squinting at his chemical apparatus through steel-rimmed eyeglasses. Good day, sir. Do you speak English?
Jawohl, I am Manfred von Hall. How may I help you?
I gave him the false name with which I had registered at the main gate. I was supposed to join you today along with Herr Zwart, but I left the office too late. You must be the German chemist he wanted me to meet.
And you are involved with his project, yeah? In what capacity?
His project? Yes, of course. I am his confidential secretary.
Perfect. We must all be vigilant if we are to keep the project secret from the Netherlands-Sumatra Company, yeah?
Jawohl. What is your role in the new venture?
For Herr Zwart, I am developing a process to make illuminating and cooking gas from petroleum. Coal is plentiful and cheap, but making gas from coal is not efficient. Making gas from petroleum is very efficient, but petroleum is rare and expensive. However, amongst the places with an abundance of petroleum are the islands of the East Indies. They are Dutch colonies administered on behalf of the government by the Netherlands-Sumatra Company.
And yet, Herr Zwart's new venture is separate from the company.
In competition, he is building his own line of steamships. We've had one delivery of East Indian petroleum so far from the first of Herr Zwart's new ships, but he assures me more will come soon.
Yes. Thank you, Herr von Hall. Oh, I'm late again. I must return to the city immediately. Auf Wiedersehen. The launch took me back to Zwart's house, where his wife met me at the door.
I am sorry, Mynheer Holmes. You have missed him again. This letter came by hand an hour ago. I will translate it for you. Dearest Jetta, I have just learned that my investment with the Baron may be lost. 2 school friends are seeking redress from the Baron and need my help. If I am to recover the funds which you so graciously loaned to me, I must join forces with these men and go with them immediately to Lyon.
Do you have a portrait of your husband here?
There is a photograph in his study. Follow me.
The photo, framed on the wall, was of a group of men standing in front of the Netherlands-Sumatra Company's building. Zwart was the tallest of them, full-figured like a weightlifter or a wrestler, entirely bald and clean-shaven. I thanked her and took my leave. And now, Watson, I shall make an end. I am writing this on the train to Lyon. If you need to reach me, I will be staying in the Hotel du Long. Ever yours, Holmes.
I had barely finished reading Holmes's letter when a letter arrived from Lady Agnes.
Dear Dr. Watson, Sir Philip has just telegraphed to me from Amsterdam, saying the Baron met with him and the Duke and the Jew and promised to consider their pleas. When he left, they followed him to the railway station where he bought passage to Lyon. So they are going to Lyon as well to resume their pursuit. Amélie and I feel, therefore, that we must go too. We shall stay at her home.
Bradstreet was at the door again.
Good afternoon, Doctor. I have just received new information about the theft of that racing yacht. The harbour master in the south of France has recognized it from the photograph and the handbill. It has been painted black and renamed, but it lies now at anchor in the harbour at Nice. Also, here is a letter Mr. Holmes sent to me and a telegram from him that came just as I was leaving. I have to return to Scotland Yard now, but I will stay in contact with Mr. Holmes by cable.
I read the telegram first.
Bradstreet, I am en route to Lyon. The full extent of the Baron's treachery is now clear to me. I have asked Zwart's wife to go to Lyon and stay with the Duchess at her residence.
Then I read the letter.
My dear Bradstreet, please show this to Watson. The Amsterdam police have news of the Netherlands Sumatra Company ship that caught fire and sank en route home from the East Indies. Her cargo was listed in the manifest as a flammable liquid, which I am certain now was petroleum. The first report was that all hands went down with the ship, but in fact, one sailor survived. He told his rescuers that before the fire, another ship had come alongside and committed an act of piracy. At gunpoint, all the barrels of petroleum were hoisted out and transferred to this pirate ship, which thereupon fired flaming projectiles onto the helpless freighter. The sailor saw no name or home port on the stern of the vessel that stole the petroleum, so there may be no way to trace its owner. But I have reason to believe the owner is Jacob Zwart. By the way, Zwart himself appears in the files of the Amsterdam police in a rather amusing way. 5 years ago, he was accused of theft by a flea market antiques vendor who claimed Zwart had walked off with an 18th century footstool. A constable was summoned. Zwart insisted he had left 3 50 guilder banknotes on the table in the vendor's stall. Sure enough, they were found. A gust of wind had apparently blown them away, so no charges were lodged. As for the Baron, I believe that, like any predatory animal, he must be at some time going to ground. And as I have long suspected that his hidey hole is in Lyon because he keeps his cash there in a small banking house called Crédit Presqu'île, which is owned by the Duke de Saranac, you may imagine my surprise when Watson and I found his Duchess at our door. It was difficult to conceal my enthusiasm for taking her on as a client. Thank you, Bradstreet, for your news of the stolen yacht. Nice is but a short railway journey from Lyon. If the Baron should ever have to flee Europe entirely, and he must have a plan for that, what better way to escape than across the Mediterranean in a swift yacht?
Just as I finished reading that, another telegram arrived.
Help me, Watson. He has escaped. Come at once.
Ever since Holmes left London, I'd kept my medical bag and my garment bag packed for crossing the Channel. In the boat train, I reflected on the case. I was impressed, of course, by what Holmes had discovered about Mr. Zwart, and that he found the Duke, through his bank, to be in league with the Baron. But Philip Dorrence is not to be trusted either. Holmes had asked me to look him up in Burke's Peerage. Dorrence is not listed there, so he ought not to be calling himself Sir Philip. And at Somerset House, I learned that he had been a widower. He was married for less than a year when his first wife committed suicide by gunshot. The Kensington townhouse had been her family's home, but he told Lady Agnes that it was built for his own great-grandfather. If he lied about that, what else may he be fabricating? Perhaps the account of being swindled was a lie. Perhaps the whole business is, in reality, a falling out among 4 thieves. About 26 hours after leaving London, I emerged from the railway station in Lyon and took a cab to the Hotel Dulong. It was a small inn, and the proprietor welcomed me with a profusion of French words, only some of which I comprehended. But he drew me immediately up the stairs and thrust open the door to a room. Holmes was there in bed, his breathing laboured, and his lower body twitching in obvious discomfort.
I found him, Watson, and then I lost him.
I touched my stethoscope to his chest, and then gave the rest of his physique a thorough examination. There is no obstruction in your lungs, Holmes. This shortness of breath likely results from overtaxing yourself. You are exhausted. But why do you move about so? Can you not lie still for long?
No. Sharp twinges of pain run down my lower back and right limb.
Well, you have a contusion on the right side of the dorsum. Something must have struck you there and bruised the sciatic nerve.
The Baron. Help me up, Watson. We must...
No! And don't talk, Holmes. Wait until morning before leaving your bed, and then use a stick to help you walk about. I will give you a few minims of laudanum to ease your pains and help you fall asleep. He gave me a broad smile. although I could not tell if it was for my reassuring prognosis or in anticipation of the laudanum. He extended his tongue for the drops.
I am grateful to you, Watson, as always. In the morning, you shall hear all.
He pointed to a letter on his bedside table.
From the Duchess. It came today.
Cher Monsieur Holmes, have you any news of our husbands? We 3 wives are in great distress, having heard nothing from them since we arrived here in Lyon. Thank you for sending us Jetta Zwart. Of the 3 of us, she is by far the most well-read and sophisticated. But that she is a Jewess, has made Agnes, who is already so immature, irritated and petulant. I will be glad to see Agnes go off on Sir Philip's arm when this nightmare is all over. Please, call upon us here, Monsieur Holmes, at any time of day or night. Tell us whatever you may discover. Even the slightest morsel of news will nourish our hopes.
By the time I finished reading it, Holmes was sleeping. I left the room, unpacked my bag, tumbled into bed, and fell asleep. In the morning, as I trotted downstairs, something was missing. There was no warm aroma from the hotel kitchen. Then I remembered. The French do not eat or offer a proper breakfast. Stoically, I ate from the basket of crescent-shaped bread rolls and sipped an exceptionally strong coffee from the provided cup, which was scarcely bigger than a shot glass. I would have to find a more substantial meal elsewhere. Holmes limped downstairs, supported by a heavy walking stick.
I am much refreshed, Watson, thanks to you. Though you see how I am reduced in mobility.
And tell me about the Baron.
Yes. Edouard Maupertuis was admitted to the lycée after demonstrating a remarkable ability to learn foreign languages. But he was expelled for committing a series of thefts from the lodgings of his fellow students.
Theft? Is that the great scandal his classmate, the Duke, threatened to expose? Really, Holmes, schoolboys steal things all the time. In their little cliques, petty theft is a mark of honor, a rite of initiation.
I concur, Watson. It suggests he was predisposed to thievery, but he was never arrested for that, nor for anything else. However, his bank is in Lyon, so he is in Lyon right now.
How did you deduce that?
I did not. It was Inspector Bradstreet who discovered that the man who deposited Dorrance's £70,000 draft did so here in Lyon at the Crédit Presqu'île.
The banking house owned by the Duke.
Exactly. The Lyon police obtained the man's address from the bank and passed it along to me so I could follow him. And I did follow him, but, well, I was fatigued. I let my guard down. I came around a corner and he struck me on the back with his cane. So I telegraphed to you to join me here. And now we will apprehend him together.
What about the 3 classmates? They were coming to Lyon.
They are here.
Well, we should go and get them. Form up a committee of vigilance and surround the Baron.
No, and we are wasting time. We must hurry. Our way forward is through Les Traboules.
In English, please.
Hidden passageways, like wormholes in woodwork. This part of the city is full of narrow alleys and tiny spaces between buildings, with doors and gates and flights of stairs. People can thread their way through the neighborhood in secret by way of the Traboules. You brought your revolver.
Of course.
Keep it at the ready.
A cab took us through increasingly narrow streets until, at Holmes's direction, we came to a stop beside a gap between 2 houses where a tiny stairway rose. Holmes limped up the short flight of steps and rapped on a door with his walking stick. The door opened just a crack. I briefly saw a man's face, his mouth wide in surprise. Before he could slam the door shut, Holmes had wedged his left foot into the opening. But instead of fighting the intrusion, the man barreled out, wielding a cane, with which he knocked Holmes backward against the railing. With a glance at me, he took all 6 steps down in a leap.
After him, Watson!
My instinct was to see if Holmes's injury had been made worse, but that was overridden by his command. I set off in pursuit, as my quarry ran down an alley, rounded a corner, and skipped sideways through a tiny gap. I did the same, and picked up speed again, matching his pace, as he and then I jumped down another longer flight of steps. But I gained only a few yards. Every time my coat flapped around me, the revolver struck hard against my hip. The fellow slid into an alley that ended at a truly monumental stairway. He took the treads at a run. I did the same and was relieved to see him slow down near the top. But I did not. I pushed forward a pace, up and up. With Holmes left behind incapacitated at the Baron's hideaway, no one but I could capture him now. The man stopped, turned, and pointed his cane down at me, wrenching its crook handle around like a faucet. Then I saw that the tip end of the cane was not an ordinary ferrule, but a hole, like the muzzle of a rifle. The bullet missed me by just inches. I drew my revolver. He flung the cane down, missing me completely, turned and fled again. Up I strode, taking the last flight 2 steps at a time. When I got to the top, however, I was on a proper broad street with sidewalks, pedestrians, shops, and cabs. My quarry dodged an omnibus that rattled past, dashed across the street, and pounded on the double doors of an old mansion. By the time I got there, someone had opened the door for him, and he disappeared inside. I sat down hard on the front steps to catch my breath, reached one hand up, but could not summon the strength to knock hard.
It's all right, Watson. They must let us in.
Holmes, how did you...
Oh, I knew he would come here eventually. After I searched his house, I hailed a cab. Let us go inside.
Holmes rapped with his stick, and the door was opened by a maid. The man I had been chasing was still in the vestibule, his arms wrapped around the Duchess's shoulders, and her arms tightly clutched around his waist.
Merci, Monsieur Holmes. Merci, Doctor. You have brought my husband back to me.
So all this time I had been chasing the Duke. In the adjacent parlour, Lady Agnes jumped up.
What about my husband? Where is Sir Philip?
A third woman, surely the Dutch merchant's wife, came toward us.
Have you found my Jakub?
Ladies, please. It would be best for us all to take seats in the parlour.
The Duke and Duchess sat together on one of the sofas. Lady Agnes started to sit beside Jetta Zwart on the other sofa, but spun around and plopped down in a chair by herself. The Duke, as his wife had told me, looked a veritable dandy, with his long blonde hair and well-trimmed Van Dyke beard.
Lady Agnes, Mrs. Zwart, I have both a sad tiding and a glad tiding to impart. The sad tiding is that your husbands will never return to you.
No! Are they dead?
The glad tiding is that you will see them one last time.
I do not understand.
What are you saying?
Monsieur le Duc, please stand up.
The man looked left and right. When his eyes met mine, I slipped my hand into my coat pocket and withdrew just enough of my revolver to forestall any resistance on his part. He stood up. Holmes used his stick to help him limp in a circle around the Duke. Then he reached over, clutched the Duke's hair in his fist, and yanked it off. The hair was false. The Duke was bald. And before he could protest, Holmes had torn the Van Dyke beard from his face.
Behold, Mynheer Zwart.
Jakub!
From a small cloth bag, Holmes pulled out a wig of brown, wavy hair and slapped it down on the bald pate.
Philip Dorrence, I presume?
It can't be. Sir Philip has a strawberry birthmark.
Yes, and he keeps it with his wig in this bag.
Holmes pulled from it a tissue-thin circle of some animal membrane, reddish in colour and waxed on one side, which he pressed against the man's cheek.
Liar!
Oh, the Duchess was the first to leap up, but the others were close behind. They tore at his flesh with their fingernails. He was strong enough to throw them off, but he made no protest beyond protecting his eyes and sinking to the floor on his knees. Just then, 4 gendarmes strode in the front door. Holmes opened his hands in welcome.
Merci, messieurs. You may now arrest Edward Maupertuis.
They led him out the door and into a police wagon.
What is to become of us?
I wish I knew. I advise you to retain legal counsel and petition to have your marriages annulled.
I can help you. I will write a complete account of the man's crimes and send it to the police in all 3 countries. I cannot promise that this will enable you to recover your lost fortunes, but it should at least incline magistrates and other authorities to sympathize with your plight. Amélie, no longer a duchess, dashed up the stairs. Jetta Zwart settled into an armchair, leaned forward and cradled her head in her hands. Lady Agnes drew her knees up to her chest, wrapped her arms around them, and rocked back and forth on the sofa. I would have stayed to offer more comfort and to listen politely if they should need to vent more anger, but Holmes waved us out of the house and hailed a cab.
It would be best, Watson, for them to console one another. Perhaps the disappointment they share equally will enable Lady Agnes to accept Mrs. Zwart as a friend.
Was there a key that unlocked all of the mysteries surrounding Edouard Maupertuis?
The footstool, of course.
What?
The antique that Jacob Zwart was accused of shoplifting. Furniture from the 18th century was at the Dorrence house in Kensington. Also here in the Duchess's home. And the Zwart's house in Amsterdam was comparably decorated. All the wives said the furniture came to their husbands by inheritance, which was an extraordinary coincidence. But a man would not prowl through flea market stalls purchasing more such pieces unless he were adding to his own personal collection.
But he was not only Jacob Zwart. When did you know that he was the Duke de Saranac and Sir Philip Dorrence as well?
Well, it seemed likewise extraordinary that the Baron should know after 40 years what specific investment would appeal to each of his erstwhile classmates.
Why did he call himself a Protestant in France, a Catholic in England, and a Jew in Amsterdam? How is that logical? Wouldn't a man who wants to conceal his true identity hide within the largest possible segment of the population, and not in a minority?
On the contrary, it was advantageous. Being an outsider limited his exposure in society and kept any friendship circles small. In that way, even prejudice would work to his benefit.
I have been wondering all along how 3 smart and accomplished men failed to make a diligent examination of their investments' details before handing over their money. Well, excuse me, their wives' money. I came to Lyon thinking all 4 men were thieves.
An excellent observation, Watson, albeit leading to an erroneous conclusion.
Yes, well, why did he steal from his wives?
Oh, surely because he intended to leave them all, and soon, to start somewhere afresh. He was building a line of ships to carry petroleum from the East Indies. Most likely he would buy or bribe his way into one of those islands and live as the local potentate.
Well, it was already a potentate with a harem. And potentates liked variety in their wives. He had the passionate bourgeoise, the child bride, and the intellectual. He would visit each of them in turn, never staying long with any one of them. No wonder they took revenge on him, like the Furies. These women had placed their deepest, most intimate trust in him, and he had callously, grievously betrayed them. You saw. He could not bring himself to fight against the frenzied onslaught of his three dishonored wives.
I am a bright fellow, Watson. But on the subject of women, and what motivates women to act as they do, I must yield to your powers of deduction.
You have been listening to Sherlock Holmes and the Nefarious Baron. Our cast featured Simon Jones as Sherlock Holmes, Jack Koenig as Dr. Watson, Barbara Rosenblat as Amélie Fragonard, Charlotte Vaughn Rains as Lady Agnes Dorrence, Suzanne Toren as Jetta Zwart. And James Predergast as Inspector Bradstreet and Manfred von Hall. Sherlock Holmes and the Nefarious Baron was written, produced, and directed by Hal Glatzer. This production was performed on January 7, 2026 in the parlor of the Coffee House Club and Salmagundi Club in New York. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.